ESG, I mean, look, maybe we are more aware of our climate footprint today than we were 10 years ago. And to be honest, as many people say, we're probably living on borrowed time from our children because the way we this climate is and then the environment is progressing. So it is increasingly becoming important for individuals and organizations and nations to accurately report, predict, and commit to their climate goals.
So what are the pain points that most people who are coming to us and having a conversation about their invoice process are raising when it comes to e-invoicing? And let's be specific about e-invoicing on that one.
Now, finally, the last one, what we call is decentralized CTC, meaning there are specific providers who are allowed to do it on your behalf. Yeah, France is trying to, go do their invoicing on this model. The challenge is they all at the output, their end product is a XML, right? In some format. But how do you then connect in different countries and make sure you are compliant? This is just going to evolve into other business documents. And there are already work being going on to address sales orders and delivery notes and purchase orders. So all of these will come into picture at one point or the other. But invoices are the first step, and that's where we are starting today, and that's where all the focus is we see as in our customer network.
And I guess let's start that. I'll raise a question to you, which is, and maybe it's a yes, maybe it's a no, but is e-invoicing just another channel?
So the answer is yes, but
Good.
there's always a
Thanks for
but.
joining, everyone. You're
Right.
welcome.
There's always a but, right? Now, what is e-invoicing? E stands for electronic. And what does electronic mean? I mean, is PDF an electronic medium? It's not paper. Or was EDI not electronic? That has been there for like many years, right? So what is this new thing about this new E? And there's a format being discussed about XMLs, right? XML invoices. That's e-invoicing. I think all of this is true, right? E-invoicing is the talk of the town. It is becoming important because it is largely being driven by regulatory bodies and compliance reasons. And yes, those are coming in XML formats. But talking about e-invoicing is the scope of these things, or let's say e-invoicing is the main priority, is similar to us saying Google is a search engine and Amazon is a website where you buy only books.
Yeah. I think it's an interesting conversation. Is it? I guess most people have been introduced to this through topics on e-invoicing. I mean, there's articles all over the place about. Well, there's articles everywhere. There's no answers anywhere, but there's articles everywhere saying e-invoicing is coming. It's here in certain jurisdictions already, and so I guess you're referring to continuous transaction controls as a
Exactly,
concept,
exactly.
right?
So e-invoicing comes under continuous transaction controls, or otherwise known as CTC. Now, what exactly is CTC? If you look at it, the normal supply chain, yeah, or the normal way goods and money in an economy moves, goods are, you do services, you sell services and goods, and at the end of the day, the government of that country expects you to pay taxes so that they can run their state accordingly, right? That's in a sense how modern society works.
Yeah.
Now, till a long time, because there was no good alternative, the government was dependent on people's words, right? I mean, tell me how much you earned, tell me how much you sold. So it was always important to do proper reporting, right? Reporting has been the cornerstone of any finance department forever. Now, reporting basically means I rely on you telling me what you know. But meanwhile, over these years, due to all the technological advances, political, geographical changes happening, the world has moved around. So I don't no longer rely on you telling me what you are. I want to know exactly what you are doing. Yeah, what you are selling, what you are buying, what you are paying, and what you are supposed to pay. And the last part is where it is a direct impact on my tax collection. And the last part is what is covered by invoices. That's the first part being attacked on today, right? You have so governments worldwide are intelligently saying, okay, we want to know in real time what you are, selling and what is someone supposed to pay. So we know exactly what tax is liable to us. So we don't want any reports from you. We want to see the money in our boxes on these dates. And that is why e-invoicing is becoming so important today. Because that's the first mandate going out. But it's part of the continuous transaction controls. So this is the first transaction. Now, if this is first, what's going to happen next? What's going to happen next is there will be reporting built into it. We already see things like around ESG, right? Sustainability, CO2 reporting. There are mandates in EU today which force companies to, you know, tell their ESG numbers in their annual reports. Now, where are they coming from? You cannot just manufacture them. You have to look into those documents to do that, right? And then this is just going to evolve into other business documents. And there are already work being going on to address sales orders and delivery notes and purchase orders. All of these will come into picture at one point or the other. But invoices are the first step, and that's where we are starting today, and that's where all the focus is we see as in our customer network.
Excellent. I think, firstly, I think the introduction of this conversation about CTC is interesting because I think people obviously they understand this e-invoicing side of it, but how far does that go? And I'd really like to come back to that ESG point you made, maybe a little later, because I think there's two different pain points here. So what are the pain points that most people who are coming to us and having a conversation about their invoice process are raising when it comes to e-invoicing? And let's be specific about e-invoicing on that one.
Now, e-invoicing, right? I mean, again, I think the word e is the most confusing part because, as I said, people are used to, in most major enterprises, having some kind of electronic channel. They have an EDI network, they have some other kind of connections to some of their partners. So, very often people are in the impression we have the infrastructure in place to address what is coming. And that's partly true. Yes, they might have some technological stuff in their stable, but the invoice part and the compliance part is what is new. Now, in essence, if I talk about the e-invoicing models, there are five kind of models. Yeah, and there are nuances around which country, part of the world we are talking about, and which country are we talking about. But in essence, there are five different models. The first model is called interoperability model. Yeah, interoperability means that you have imagine a common uh, electronic highway where the standard of the message has been defined and people exchange information using that same standard. Example, a people network. A people access point is provided to every company. The format of the invoice that can flow through that people network is defined, and organizations then exchange information invoices between themselves using that specific format. So if the authorities want, they can pick up the format and take a decision or check it from themselves. Countries like Belgium and Netherlands and a lot of the Western European countries are based on people. Then you have a second model, which is called real-time reporting model, where you send the invoice, the XML format to the customer and the tax authorities at the same time. Yeah, and that's there in countries like Hungary and Spain, for example.
Okay.
Yeah. Then there's something called a clearance model. You send the invoice first, the XML to the tax authorities, and once the tax authorities clear it and approve it, then the customer can download it or the vendor can download it. Now, there are countries like Mexico and India which are trying this route. Fourth one is something called centralized exchange module, right? In Poland and Italy, where you send the invoices centrally to an authority and then the vendor gets it from those platforms. Same XML message. Finally, the last one, what we call is decentralized CTC, meaning there are specific providers who are allowed to do it on your behalf. Yeah, France is trying to, go do their invoicing on this model. The challenge is they all at the output, their end product is a XML, right? In some format. But how do you then connect in different countries and make sure you are compliant? And this is a fast evolving market, right? Fast evolving world. So that is the complexity in this part. If you're a global organization, If you're just in one or two countries, maybe it's simpler because you just have to look at one country or two countries. But if you're a global organization, and then you have some infrastructure to get electronically an XML, but how do you get it from where under these circumstances is what makes it more challenging, I would say.
And do you think that the majority of clients that are coming to us and talking to us, and also non-clients, because we're getting quite a lot of people who have seen some of our content and want to know a bit more, do you think that they are okay tackling this problem, or are there, like, there seems to be a general confusion about what's going on, right?
That's indeed the case, right? Because the part of the reason is probably the problem is well, is not well defined yet.
Yeah.
It's an evolving problem. And the reality of what is happening is all the customers and our business partners we have been talking to, they are doing firefighting. They are not doing
Yeah.
anything till it becomes mandatory or legally impossible or becoming a legal requirement to operate in that business, in that territory or in that country, then they want to do something. They see it as a last minute thing to do when it becomes legally compliant, right? That's essentially firefighting. And partly the reason behind is because the problem statement is not clear. So what is the problem if we don't do it? Or more importantly, what are the options available to me? Because then when you look at solutions, then there is a myriad of things using different, tools, but no single tool or no single provider is a complete solution. It always solves part of the solution. And this is also an evolving market, and this is where we are now focusing our energy and time to get into, nitty gritties, and so that we can help our customers better to say, okay, how can you build an end-to-end solution that fits you and your business? And this will definitely mean we have to then combine a lot of pieces available from different parts of the ecosystem, right? You need compliance, so that has a separate team, a separate maybe service provider. You need the technical compatibility, companies which will take a format from one country and deliver one specific format to you, and vice versa, right? You also have to send through your sales invoices, and then finally your system of records, right? All of these should go into your invoices, right? Vendor invoices in your system. And where companies are also trying is to help their customers in having end-to-end journey, right? Let's hold your hand so that we can walk you through. This is an evolving market and evolving topic as we speak.
Do you think people are maybe missing some of the opportunities as well? Because when you see a lot of people talking about it, they talk about the difficulties, the complexities, which is correct, right? That's hard. I've seen this on smaller scales in financial services with things like FRTB and the uncertainty around that when it was getting delayed, MiFID II uncertainty. Well, there are opportunities, though, right? Surely alongside this.
Absolutely. I mean, I like a point. I'm saying this is actually not a obstacle, and I need to do it at the last moment when things become impossible or I cannot operate. But this has got a lot of opportunity. Just the fact that this is e-invoicing, meaning this is electronic, you will not have to spend anything in reading the invoice, right? And this age-old phenomena of if I get electronic invoice EDI, I will get better data. Actually, in some extent, is true, right?
Yeah.
Whether it will reach, at least the data quality is good, right? What you're getting, you are able to read it. That's a very obvious low-hanging fruit. Then there are other things because many things are happening at the same time, right? We touched about ESG, and there are other topics, directives coming from many different parts of the world. All of them rely on effective reporting. Now, if I keep on adding bespoke reporting by taking data from different kind of tables and putting my logic, that's not scalable. That's not how an organization can handle all the kind of compliance hitting from different kinds of the world. So you need to look at it all together, and that's where I think the opportunity lies, because we are seeing the first part of the curve, and this curve is going to go up,
Yeah.
right? We are seeing that, okay, from a paper-based or a physical invoicing, we are moving to an electronic format. That's the first step, using a control channel, right? That what I talked about, the different models. But the next part is, okay, that once the data is standardized, things will happen with that data. And that is obviously your reporting part.
Yeah. And I think it feeds into some of the stuff we've spoken about for a long time, which is transparency of process means you can you can find your bottlenecks, you can address them, you can free people up to do more meaningful tasks within the business. But you've mentioned the ESG a few times, and I think it's important we kind of touch on this because my experience at the moment is if you go back through um, yearly reports from companies, you go back through the annual reports, 4 or 5 years ago, digital transformation was everywhere. It's digital transformation, digital transformation, digital transformation. Now we know that's still going on, right? We're well aware because we're working with a huge amount of clients on that exact thing. It's disappeared in the last 2 years, in my opinion, from annual reports, and now it's replaced with ESG reporting. Now, people are nervous about that, obviously, because there are mandates for people to do that correctly, otherwise they're liable. But at the same time, there's now a data point where you're going to have to show progress, right? That's that's what analysts are now looking for. Are you on the right track? How does
Yeah,
this connect?
I mean, ESG, I mean, look, maybe we are more aware of our climate footprint today than we were 10 years ago. And to be honest, as many people say, we're probably living on borrowed time from our children because the way we this climate is and then the environment is progressing. So it is increasingly becoming important for individuals and organizations and nations to accurately report, predict, and commit to their climate goals. So you and me as individuals have responsibilities, so do the organization that employs us, so does the nation where we are living. And so this percolates in different ways, right? If I say, okay, how can I do something better? For that, I need to know what I'm doing today, and we need
Mm.
data points. And for an organization, the data points are going to come from the operations they do, the things they buy, things they sell, goods are moved. Those are the data points. Those are the carbon touch points. Now, how can I do it? I can only do it on a transaction level, and that will aggregate to a summarized report. And what's the best way to get on a transaction one? Get it from the source.
Yeah,
And that's what, for example, e-invoicing will tell me the money part, right? How much am I paying for a high carbon emitter vendor, for example, compared to someone else? Now, if you take this forward and you extend documents into your supply chain, into your logistics, transportation, procurements, and so on, then you get more accurate data points. And then you can make it just an analysis and say, okay, maybe I can do better in some of these areas by having a dialogue with my partners, yeah, my vendors, and they will have to do the same with theirs. And then you're trying to reach the suppliers of your suppliers, right? Extended supply chain, yeah, in order to do it. I mean, no single person can do it.
yeah. And I'm guessing it also supports on the governance side of ESG, right? It's
I mean, they're all connected, right? I mean, there's no governance without individuals, and then you have a methodology and the umbrella to say, okay, how will this work? I mean, it also touches on ethical procurement and other things as well. I mean,
yeah,
once you have visibility into your entire supply, what you're doing, where you're ordering things from, and where are you spending your money on?
yeah. It's such a broad topic, isn't it? And I'm glad that we started with the question: is e-invoicing just a channel? Because you were right. Yes, it is. Does it raise further conversation? Absolutely. Certainly, when you look at CTC and the idea of how broad that is. So I'm keen to just finish on a question around where are people in the journey currently, and should they be worried?
People, especially, I will talk about, let's say, the bigger enterprises who are global, having operations in many different countries across continents, and they are running business to scale, right? Their business are on a different scale. Of course, the organization is much bigger, they have much more resources and so on. So they are putting things into place. Some of them have started, some of them are in the mid of it, some of them have done more than others. Uh, but the evolving market or the evolving governance model is not clear because countries are not very clear on what they want, what kind when the mandates come into play, and for example, what will the technical structure of the XMLs look like? And that is also adding to the confusion, because even if an organization is trying to get prepared, they might put the fundamentals in place, but until they have specifics of what this country, France, for example, has moved their dates, Poland, for example, has moved their dates. So what is the final outcome? So maybe some companies have prepared something for those countries, but not complete, because they don't know the final answer. That's one side of the story. The second side of story is always a cost benefit analysis. So if my business in a country is substantial at high volume, then it makes sense for me to invest in systems and resources and make it integrated. If it's not that substantial and I cannot justify my cost versus the benefit I will get, I might very well outsource it, yeah, to a local provider, or even, let's say, employing people to if I'm doing a few hundred transactions a month. So this is more of a business decision, how I see things. But at the end of the day, you asked, should we be worried? Yes, just because it is mandated by government.
Yeah.
It's compliant. So whether you do it using a system, if you have scale, or you employ people, or outsource to a third party, you need to get it done. You need to report to the authorities in that XML format, right? There's no way around it, right? And it's a matter of how I do it is the new decision.
Absolutely. Excellent. Well, thank you for your time, Sid. I really appreciate it. I think it's a subject I really, really want to talk more about, because I think we're seeing so many changes and so many shifts that it's constantly moving, and people need to be kept up to date. It's hard to keep up to date because you've got to rely on information that you actively have to go and search for. But again, thank you for your time, and I look forward to chatting to you very soon.
Always a pleasure. Take care. See you next time.
Thanks very much for watching. If you'd like to see more from us, check out other content on our YouTube channel. You can also follow us on social media, or you can visit us at www.turnpikes.pro. Feel free to subscribe to get upcoming notifications of our new content, and we look forward to seeing you very soon.